Hey, good morning, everybody. It's 9 a.m. Let's go ahead and get started with our Training Tuesday. A lot of information to throw at you today. We're going to be talking about the procurement code the procurement code changes that are effective January 1. We kind of gave you a sneak peek a couple weeks ago that we were going to be doing this. We want to get this out a few weeks prior to January 1, so we could just let you know what's coming. Certain things are going to be going into place. We're going to walk through that today. Bid by monthly training is tomorrow on Wednesday, bid by practice sessions Thursday, and then our quote of the day. Now, one thing that is going to be kind of different than what we normally do here regarding our content today is questions regarding the procurement code changes. So we know you guys are going to have questions. We recognize that some of the changes will affect certain procurements that are kind of midstream. Okay, how does this affect this procurement, this procurement? But to avoid getting into the weeds on specific type of procurements, we're not going to get into those questions today. Certainly, you can reach out to your SPO and we'll elevate certain things because certain scenarios are going to have, we need more information. So, and that's really not appropriate for this call. So it's going to be a high level view of those changes that are effective January 1. So hope you guys understand that. We recognize there will be a lot of questions, and we will certainly be able to answer those, but just not on this call today. All right. So let's go ahead and jump in. There's quite a few things to get through. So first off, we're going to start with how I've had this laid out for our slides, and of course this is being recorded and will be sent out to everybody as well as posted in our training center under the Training Tuesdays page. So everybody's going to be able to go back and take a look at this. Regarding the exemptions. And so what I did for the slides. So there's a link at the very top of each one that shows the section and the code that's being changed that's effective January 1. I'm starting kind of at the very first section, and then just as the sections get higher, they're being added here kind of in that order. A couple of them get lumped together because they kind of go together. And I just highlighted what language was added, and then I would strike through if language was deleted. Okay, so pretty straightforward stuff. So posting exempt procurements. So this is other than IGAs, grants, and collective bargaining contracts, right? Those are kind of the exceptions to the exemptions that need to be posted. Exemptions with an annual value of more than $100,000 need to be posted. Okay. Pretty straightforward. If it has an annual value of less than $100,000, it does no longer need to be posted as an exemptions. So I just want to kind of, it's a good time. We haven't talked about exemptions in a long time. This is an agency responsibility. And a lot of times we get the question, how often do we need to post those exemptions? If you're an agency that doesn't do a lot of exemptions, you can just post them as they occur. If you're an agency that does quite a bit of exemptions, you can just post them, but we want them to be posted monthly, once per month. That way, the time doesn't get away from us and they don't end up being posted, which would be that they're non-compliant to the code. So over $100,000 annually for those those exemptions being posted. All right, so next up, the subcontract and subcontractor definition has been updated. Simply to be elevated from $50,000 up to $100,000. You see where it says the small, if the contract price exceeds the small purchase maximum established by Section 2020, and we all know that Section 2020 is $100,000. Another question that we've received, so I might as well, I'm also going to try to pick the low-hanging fruit on some of the questions that we receive regarding some of these changes, or I think we would receive. The small purchase limit is $100,000, right? And the intention moving forward is that it will stay at $100,000. We have received the question that, will it still continue to go up every year? There has been a recent rule change that allows the CPOs to keep that at $100,000. So that will not be moving. All right, so subcontractor, same thing, that exceeds the small purchase maximum established by Section 2020. So $50,000 is now up to $100,000 in order to be a subcontract or to be a subcontractor. So this also affects 2120. All contracts or the contract will include the names and addresses of all the known subcontractors with subcontracts with an annual value that exceeds the small purchase maximum. So those all kind of go together, right? Those different sections. So wherever you're going to see subcontractor, that now means it needs to be annual value over $100,000. Okay. Continuing with this theme, subcontractors in 3540 regarding professional and artistic. It's the same language. The contract needs to include all the names and addresses of all known subcontractors with the subcontracts with an annual value that exceeds $100,000. Okay, pretty straightforward stuff so far. There's a new subsection in 2020 regarding standard certifications, standard Illinois certifications. Okay, so now you see the new subsection, all small purchases with an annual value that exceeds $50,000 shall be accompanied by standard Illinois certifications in a form prescribed by each chief procurement officer. Now, the term standard Illinois certifications, we use that form that is prescribed and is on CPOGS website, but that term has never actually been in law. We use it because the certifications are required. But now there will be a standard Illinois certifications. And then there also is going to be a CPO notice. Before we get those questions, we'll just know that there will be a CPO notice, will be forthcoming, and is going to have the standard Illinois certifications attached. Okay. And also as we go through here, I'll kind of preview and give a heads up on what job aids in bid buy will need to be updated. And so this is going to affect our small purchase under $10,000 because those standard certifications will not need to be attached. And also the small purchase over $10,000, because if you recall that job aid, it says, if it's under $50,000, you need to have standard certifications. Above 50, you'd have to have Forms A, Forms B. So standard certifications will only be required above $50,000. Okay. Yes, this will be available to attendees. So just in general, great question. So these are always posted in our Training Tuesdays page, which I'll maybe go through at the end of the day or at the end of the call just to show you where those are at. They're on the CPOGS website in our training center, and I'll also email these out to everybody. So every week, if you attend this call, they're always going to be posted on our website, so you can always go back. But if you attend the call, you'll receive the follow-up email. Okay. All right, so that's going to affect our job aids in terms of what needs to be attached when you are doing a small purchase under 10 or a small purchase over 10. Okay. Also, there is a brand new section. So this is 5090, which is further on down, but it goes together with that portion of 2020. So this is regarding certifications. This says all contracts under this code with an annual value that exceed $50,000 annually shall be accompanied by standard Illinois certifications in a form prescribed by each procurement officer. Again, the standard Illinois certifications will be attached to the forthcoming CPO notice. And you might ask, you might do the same thing I did. Hey, what's the difference between 5090 and 2020D? Because 5050 or 5090, excuse me, really covers everything. So that's all contracts with an annual value that exceed $50,000. So just know that they do not conflict. 5090 takes care of anything that was in 2020D, but above $50,000, standard Illinois certifications will be required. Okay, so now we're going to move to 2060. Again, we have the link here, so you can go to it. I've just kind of copied and pasted, and I've highlighted what was added, and I struck through what was changed. This is regarding PPB and CEI, Commission on Equity and Inclusion, and Procurement Policy Board review of renewals that are $250,000 and above. It used to be 30 days. Now, January 1, it will be 14 calendar days. Okay, so they have 14 days to review. So you can see at the bottom the job aid update, the renewals, the process for doing a the process for doing a renewal in bid buy is not going to change at all. Technically, it will need a new job aid because the reminder that the SPO puts in is going to change from 30 to 14. So you're not going to see a big change on any of our processes, but you're going to see little tweaks that that just normally occur as legislation and law changes. So one thing I do want to mention here is the posting dates for a renewal and how it relates to PPB and CEI review. So it's 30 days if the renewal is posted in December. It's 14 days if it's published in January. If it was posted in December, once it gets to January, that 30 days does not now become 14. So I want to get out in front of that question. So if it's the easiest way to explain it is if you post it in December, it's going to be 30 days. If it's posted in January, it will be 14. So for example, if you post a renewal December 30th, it's still going to, the PPB and CEI will have 30 days from that in order to have their review. Versus if you were to wait a few days and post it January 3rd, they would have 14. Okay. Certainly, as we run in, again, as you have these questions, I'll reach out to your SPO, and that'll be clarified with your SPO. All right, so I got a question, but we're going to hit that in just a second. I know you guys are thinking about it. Yes, this is only for renewals $250,000 and above. Okay, if it's a renewal less than that, that's not being affected here. Okay, so now we're going to move to debt delinquency. Okay, so you can see some language was added here. Okay, so debt delinquency. First off, what is debt delinquency? Delinquent debt is a debt of at least $1,000 cumulative with the vendor or with the debtor and at least 90 days past due. So that isn't changing. Also, what isn't changing is this is for procurements that are $20,000 and above. We have that marked on our job aid. So anything above $20,000 would need this debt check, this debt delinquency check. And so you can see a couple things at the beginning. There's just kind of wording to make it flow a little bit better. It's not no person shall submit a bid or offer. It's if a person submits a bid or offer for. That person or affiliate must cure the debt delinquency within 7 calendar days by, and then there's a couple of kind of cure options here. So really what they're adding is a curability time frame in here. And so there's going to be a couple different options here. So if the delinquent debt is confirmed, the state agency is going to notify the SPO and the potential contractor of options to cure. So, what starts that 7 days? That's always a question, right? When we're thinking about these things, what starts the clock? That notification to the vendor about the cure option starts that 7-day countdown to satisfy the debt delinquency. So this check is going to move to the initial responsiveness review, which would allow if something were you to find a delinquent debt, it allows the curability to occur up front, rather than we get to the award of the procurement and then we find out that there's a debt delinquency. So that's good from a process standpoint. That will be changing in order to hopefully catch these things up front that allow that curability for the vendor. Okay, so I talked about those cure options that are here. There will be 3 cure options, right? Satisfy the entire debt. They could also enter into a deferred payment plan to pay off the debt, subject to the comptroller's ability to process the payment. So that piece, the deferred payment plan, is not a new thing. But also actively be disputing or seeking a resolution of the debt. So if I just go back to my previous slide, you can see what was added here. The 7 days by satisfying the entire debt, entering the deferred payment plan, subject to the comptroller's ability to process the payment, or must be actively disputing or seeking a resolution of the debt. Okay, so that brings up the question, what does that mean? And so for the first option, right, they satisfy the entire debt. Great, fantastic. That's great. For option number 2, the deferred payment plan, the state shall obtain evidence that the person has entered into a deferred payment plan. This also isn't really a new process. If the agency or if the vendor was entering into the deferred payment plan, that's evidence. The agency gets the evidence, and then you're able to move forward. For option number 3, so this is the actively disputing or seeking a resolution of the debt. State agencies shall obtain from the person a completed debt delinquency dispute resolution form. This is a new form, and this is going to be attached to the forthcoming CPO notice that I mentioned. Okay, so there will be a new form that's being currently worked on, and it will be attached as a part of a summary of all these changes, and it will be attached to the CPO notice as well as that standard Illinois certifications. Okay, so a couple notes here. If the delinquent debt is confirmed on a subcontractor, the award can still be made to the prime. However, the sub cannot be used as a part of the contract until the debt is satisfied. And then also, this is going to be a new process. The IPG team will be checking each applicant to the Illinois Procurement Gateway for debt delinquency. So hopefully that's another process that we could catch something up front that would hopefully make the procurement move a little bit quicker if a delinquent debt were to be discovered or confirmed. So if the IPG team discovers this, the same steps to document and offer a cure will be followed. So in the code, they still have that 7-day cure period. Procuring state agencies will still need to check a potential contractor or subcontractor for debt delinquency, even if the vendor is registered in the IPG. And that's there just because, well, they might not have had a delinquent debt when they submitted to IPG 6 months ago, but now they do, now that they're looking to get an award. So it's just another check in there in order to hopefully catch some of this stuff up front, that by the time it gets to award, we can move it a little bit faster. That's the intention. Okay, that's debt delinquency. Now let's move to financial disclosures and potential conflicts of interest. So you can see here that all bids and offers from responsive bidders, offerers, vendors, or contractors with an annual value that exceeds the small purchase threshold established under Section A of Section 2020 of this code. You can see where $50,000 has been struck through, that has been elevated to $100,000. Okay, so from a process standpoint, you're also going to see job aids for the small purchase above 10 will be updated as well, because you would no longer need financial disclosures and conflicts of interest form for small purchases. Did I just hear everybody cheer? I think I just did. Something through the WebEx here. All right, so also there is a new subsection under 5035 that is going to be, oh yeah, so to go back to answer your question, right, sorry, thank you. You did get a little ahead of yourself. That's okay, you guys were thinking about this. The subcontractor and everything regarding it's above $100,000. So the question that we received was the financial disclosures conflict of interest form for subcontractors. That would also be $100,000. Okay, so 50 is now 100. There is a new subsection J in 5035 that is regarding an affidavit. So if, and we're gonna kind of walk through this. If a bidder offer is received from a responsive bidder offer vendor contractor or subcontractor with an annual value of more than $100,000, and that bidder offer vendor contractor subcontractor has an active contract with that same entity and has already submitted their financial disclosures and potential conflicts of interest within the last 12 months, they can submit a signed affidavit attesting that the original submission of its financial disclosures and conflicts of interest has not been altered or changed. Okay, so what does this mean? It means that within the last, and a couple things that are really important here, it needs to be within the last 12 months with the same agency. And so anytime we see things like with the last 12 months, what do we mean? So in the time that it starts would be for IFBs, RFPs, and actually let me go here, because here it is. What is the new date? 12 months from what date? So for IFBs, RFPs, and RFP P&A, the 12 months will start on the award notice date. For sole source and emergencies, it would be the date of contract execution. Okay, so one thing that I want to go back to here is this is new. This is in the law. I also, personal opinion, I do think it would be easier for them just to be in an IPG and submit Forms B, right? It's going to be easier that way because there are a couple things that are going to have to be involved here. Is we would need to, the agency is going to have to go and find the disclosures on the other procurement that was attached within the last, that was submitted within the last 12 months, right? Again, we're using that award notice date. And we're going to use the contract execution for sole sources and emergencies. And this will be laid out a little bit more in the CPO notice as well. But also, there are some potential issues here, right? We as we're thinking about this, I see the value in just submitting Forms B again. It's going to be easy. That Forms B is intended to be easy. So if you have your vendors that are IPG, that's perfect. That's fantastic. But it does need to be within 12 months and with that same agency. So that's going to be really important. Otherwise, they have not submitted their financial disclosures for that. So there'll be plenty of other questions regarding this. We'll discuss them as we move forward. But that is available, that is out there. But I really see the potential to be much easier just to submit Forms B. All right. Next is the good faith effort regarding renewals. Okay, so if the state agency, this 2060 was added here. A couple of the things that were added was it's not going to be unreasonably withheld. So meaning if the agency determines that the vendor made good faith effort, the agency may issue a waiver after concurrence by the chief procurement officer, which shall not unreasonably be withheld or impair a state agency determination to execute the renewal. So it says here the form and content of the waiver shall be prescribed by each chief procurement officer, but shall not impair a state agency or public institution of higher education determination to execute the renewal. Okay, what's that mean? Essentially, that means that even if the CPO does not concur, it will not impair the state agency from executing that renewal. The good faith effort form is not going to change. That is already going to be there, but so the agency may issue the waiver after the concurrence of the CEO, but technically the agency could move forward with the renewal even if the CPO does not concur. Okay. Nope, this isn't for the BEP goal. The good faith effort is if the vendor who's looking to do a renewal, it's good faith effort towards meeting that goal. So let's say a vendor did not meet the BEP contract goal. That's when this good faith effort, but they made a good faith effort to try to do that. Correct. All right. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. We're almost done. A couple other things. We have our bid by monthly training tomorrow. No registration is required. This is offered the second Wednesday of every month, and just click on the link, and we'll do our 4 different sessions tomorrow. And then also on Thursday, which is the third Thursday of the month, we do our bid by practice sessions. That is there in order to walk through examples. The trainers are on the call. It's really there for you guys to practice in the training environment and ask any questions you might have regarding bid buy. You don't have to attend Wednesday in order to attend Thursday if you've already attended some bid buy training. We won't go through all of the full training on Thursday. It really is just for you guys to practice and to ask questions. And I know you guys are going to have questions on some of the changes in your specific scenarios, like I mentioned. I just want to reiterate that we recognize the questions you guys are going to have. Different scenarios are going to be specific, and reach out to your SPO on those, and they'll be able to certainly help you with that. Here's our link to our training center. We get that question a lot of where is the training center? I know we had a question earlier regarding our Training Tuesday. Why don't I just go show you real quick? If you click on that link, or if you go to the CPOGS website and scroll to the bottom, you can see that there's a training center. Training Tuesdays is right here. And so everybody who's on the call will receive today's recording and the slides, of course, but you can always go back and take a look. And another cool thing that I really like regarding this is you can search by date. Of course, you can kind of scroll. We have our slides. We have the title, so our topics, so you can kind of scroll through, and the YouTube link. But also, if you just want to search for something, where's something that they were talking about, let's say, small purchase. I can search for small purchase, and then those things that have small purchase in the title will show up. All right. And then our quote of the day. It's kind of a summary of Seneca, I believe. We don't control what happens, we control how we respond to what happens. I love that. That's one of the tenets of Stoicism that I'm constantly working on as well. So we can't control what happens, but we control how we respond to what happens. To clarify, the subcontractor, the over 100,000 is for the whole contract price, or the subcontractor is part of the contract? It would be the subcontractor as part of the contract. But again, for all your other specific questions, make sure you go to your SPO. They'll know. All right, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your week. The recording will be sent out shortly, and we'll talk soon. Thank you very much.